wanted to do was to give people a chance to see you, because we know that the portrayal is going to be, or has tried to be, he's just some guy down here who's doing some carpentry shit or whatever, and we had to get him out of there. So we wanted to expose the fact that you're actually a craftsman, and you have a lot of valuable equipment down there. They gave you no time to get out. They didn't help you at all with getting out, and you've been pretty much ever since then. And nobody has really stepped up and extended a hand. So,
No.
yeah. So that's the story we want to get out, you know. And I think we're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, you got some good stuff going on.
Okay, I'm here today with Patrick Fagan. Good to meet you, Patrick.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How's things with you?
Yeah. Could be better.
Could be better. I guess I understand where you're coming from with that regard. You had a little issue with the city. My understanding is you were located at one time in the 615 Marquette Street property.
Correct.
And that is, it's adjacent to Machinery Row.
Yeah, top of the hill there.
Yeah, that's one of the buildings that was bought because, because it was so close and the city felt they were getting a bargain, and it was part of the property that Rick Olson owned. He owned 3. In order to buy the one that was for Machinery Row, they had to buy the other 2.
The phase 2 section.
Yeah, and you were there, and you had a cabinet shop there, didn't you, or something?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of work did you do?
Restore antiques, make custom cabinets, a variety of different work also.
Wow. So when did you first find out that the city wanted you out of there?
Well, it hadn't been announced yet with me in the building I was in, because they were in phase 1, which was the 900 building and Water Street and the 820 and the Azarian area. So I didn't get any type of notice that I had to go anywhere yet.
And in fact, phase 1 is nothing's ever really happened with it. I mean, it's not gotten anywhere. So, but they were concerned about you as somebody that would be in the way of phase 2, which was like way down the road, and they got kind of aggressive with you. Is that my understanding? They were like anxious to get you to leave, and they made no bones about it from what I understand.
My lease was good till the middle of the following year.
You had a lease that you signed with Rick Olson, right?
Correct.
10-year lease?
Well, it was a yearly lease, and I had been there for a period of 10 years, but if either one of us wanted to break the lease, we had a 60-day advance notice clause that if either one of us were not happy, we'd
part company.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, when they came and ran you out of the place, basically, your lease was still in effect. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's correct. I had it until June of the following year, which would have been 2016, and I vacated 6 months early due to the harassment.
Yeah. And did they actually give you 60 days to get out of there?
60 days notice or 60 days to get out of there?
Well, either one.
Well, what they did is they pressured the owner, saying that they would not close on the property if I was in the building.
Oh, okay. And of course, he's motivated to sell. And
Absolutely.
he wants to get paid and get out of there.
Absolutely.
So you're basically the guy that preserved some of that property down there.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I just want to make sure, and that's why we're talking about this stuff. I want to make sure that people out in the public understand that you weren't just some bum that was hanging out down in the building. No. I mean, you were like
I did all the snow removal.
Yeah. I mean, you were the guy that took care of the buildings on top of trying to run a business.
They wanted to close in December. Well, they wanted to close numerous times, but the option kept getting extended because I had too much stuff. I had 25,000 square feet occupied in machinery, products, doors, windows, material, lumber, tooling, hardware.
I've seen some of the pictures of it. It's pretty
extensive.
Pretty extensive collection. In fact, you did eventually end up moving it out, and from my understanding, you've got like 8 semi-truckloads, 50-foot trailer trucks, 53 feet.
53 foot, and I got a ground storage container,
Yeah.
45 feet. I got most of my machinery in that. This is one trailer that I have some of my
You gotta
stuff
keep all this stuff secure, right? You got
Yeah,
a total of 8 of these?
yeah.
Yeah. 8.
I
Let's
have,
go take a gander at another one. How long have you actually had all this stuff here? When did you first move it here?
well, I started bringing in here the first month that I was taken out of the 615 Marquette
That was
warehouse.
December of 2015, was it?
Yeah, yeah. You know, I couldn't get the stuff loaded fast enough, so I had to put some stuff at a different location in Racine by Jam Azarian's Marina.
Right.
Not even ready. You don't know how fucked up I am right now. By all the fucking bullshit, stress, non-stop running all fucking day.
I have 2 fork trucks, and I told you I had problems with one, and then I had problems with the other one because it, in the situation it's being stored outside over the winter, it's kind of hard to work on things when you get, I know we didn't have a lot of snow this year, but the year before we had quite a bit. And the amount of money, so I have to pretty much operate out of this.
Have you been able to do any of your cabinet making at all since you...
No.
Nothing, huh?
All my machinery is up in the front of this,
Yeah.
and I had to unload quite a bit of it, and put in some of the, and get additional trailers.
Yeah, 8 boxes like this.
This one's 45 foot.
How much time did you actually do this in?
Well, I loaded 3 semis as fast as I could in the last 30 days. The city kicked me out of the building in December. I couldn't load the stuff fast enough to make the city and the owner of the building happy, so I had to take stuff to another location down the street in Racine and put it outside and put tarps over it and try to police it best I could to keep from having it stolen or towed away or removed from the city or whatever. I had to pretty much live on premises to keep an eye on it. So then my stuff is in Kenosha and Racine, 2 different cities, and it's kind of hard to run a business from 2 different city locations that you're in trailers with no power.
I want to talk to you about your business a minute when we get done looking at some of this stuff and explain to people what it was that you were doing down there. And,
Right.
You know.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it's an interesting story. It's not a,
For somebody, it's
not a very
interesting.
happy one, but I'm sure people are going to be interested in hearing what happened.
Sure.
So, yeah, we'll go through that.
Sure.
So, how did you get all that stuff moved? I mean, did the city provide you some assistance there at all?
No, there was no assistance. I didn't talk to anybody about any help of any type. I think I made 54 trips one weekend alone just on getting my stuff out of the building down the street, because after I had purchased 4 semi-trailers, I ran out of money. So I leased some other trailers from a friend of mine that owns a trucking company, and I couldn't have them on the property because it was one of the agreements that I had to get all my stuff out of the building. So I had to take my stuff down Water Street to the property that Blackwell had purchased, and put my stuff outside.
Are you saying that they wouldn't even allow you to have the trailers on the property that you were moving the things from?
And it was easier, to tell you the truth, to take the stuff down the street and organize it from...
You ended up moving it out of the building over to these...
2 blocks away.
Oh my God. And this was all after they finally convinced you that, you know, your time is limited here, pal, out you go.
Well,
Then you took on this big moving project. They offered no help whatsoever, no financial assistance or anything, but did they, I understand they had a supervisor there watching him move, but he was.
Yeah, every day he would come and see how much, come and see how far I am, the progress that was being made daily.
Yeah.
And one day we even caught him stealing stuff.
Nice. Jeez. How many square feet did you actually occupy over there in Racine?
25,000. I had 15,000 upstairs on the 4th floor, and then 12,000 square feet on the first floor, garage access to the elevator, so I would be able to bring tooling, material, stuff upstairs to my shop upstairs on the 4th floor.
Yeah, it's a good lot of space.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to find something that's suitable that's got that kind of space to offer.
Yeah, it's hard to find.
Yeah. Are you hoping to get back into cabinet making?
Well, I wanted to originally when I ended up coming here.
Yeah.
But it's pretty much exhausted me. I just am burned out by the whole thing. I don't know what I want to do now. What are my options? I don't know.
I hear you. For the viewers out there, a lot of people have, well, I shouldn't say a lot of people. I've read a couple of remarks like you're just some guy that's hanging out, just building stuff, and you're getting free rent over there at the.
Absolutely not.
I know that's absolute malarkey because I've seen your work. I know you did some work in the home of some friends of mine. It was just outstanding cabinetry.
Yeah, I did it through another cabinet making company, but I did the work.
Right. And I know you did a lot of work for Fisk Johnson. I mean, he's not a guy who's going to shop at Kmart.
Yeah, I worked for 3 businesses in Racine, and one of the things I did was the Drager Langdorf Funeral Home millwork package.
Right.
I also did Fisk Johnson's credenza and kitchen next to his office in B36, the Johnson Wax facility. And then I did some stuff in Wind Point.
Yeah, those are friends of mine. I know them, and I've seen the work personally, and even used it to a degree. But what happened here is somebody who was really an accomplished craftsman was kicked out of his facility unceremoniously. Just get your stuff out, and you received absolutely no compensation.
No.
You received no help moving your stuff.
Well, I had to get friends of mine and pay people to help me.
Well, by help,
out of my own pocket.
No assistance from the people that were telling you to move.
No.
I mean, they certainly no physical help and no financial help either.
The owner of the building helped me as much as he could.
Yeah.
He helped me as much as he could. I'll put it that way. But it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So
somebody who had a good business going, who was providing good products, and he's basically removed from the economy. And it's a damn shame. What is the new? Rodney Blackwell is the new, correct?
Correct.
And what has Rodney Blackwell done?
Well, the first meeting I
preserve or to keep those buildings intact, or to repair them, or to develop them, or anything. Go ahead.
The first meeting I had with Rodney, he pulled up and observed me on Sam Azarian's area or property, and he asked me what I was doing there, and I said I had to vacate a building at 6:15. I couldn't get out fast enough, and I explained to him that I was a cabinet maker for 30 years, and that I had every tool he would need: planers, shapers, saws, every tool that we could have done an in-house millwork to restore anything that he wanted to do, projects. I tell you, I had $20,000 worth of shaper cutters. I could match any profile of architectural molding that you would pick out, you know what I mean? And I could duplicate it. And
how do you respond to your offer?
You want me to use this as yak term?
Yeah, we can edit it if we need to.
Well, he said, I don't give a fuck who you are or what you can do, but get the fuck off of my property. That's what he said to me, and I said, I'll get off as fast as I can. That's about all I said, because I was in shock, first of all, that somebody would take that outlook when I offer, you know what I mean, to help him in the situation.
Right.
And I don't, from day one, I never really felt that he was full-heartedly in this for any kind of a project.
You're not alone in that suspicion.
Yeah. Yeah, I said it on day one that he ain't gonna do anything with this.
Yeah.
And this just echoed that feeling. And
Day one, here we are, what, 2 years later?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But a lot of people were claiming, this is the greatest thing that's ever going to happen to Racine. And then,
I didn't feel that way.
yeah. Well, Now, somewhere along the line, you discovered that the city was actually responsible for lending you assistance in moving and compensating you for having to move. Is that correct?
A year and a half after the fact.
Yeah. But they never gave you any kind of information about that.
No.
And there actually is a state statute that they're required when somebody is being relocated under the circumstances that you were relocated. There's a state statute that requires them to notify you that there's assistance available.
When I called the state in regards to the relocation issues, the person that answered the phone said I needed to speak with the department head, and that person had taken a temporary leave of absence, and she took my information, and I got a call back the next day from an investigator from the department administration, and I explained my story, and she suggested that I fill out a relocation complaint, and we'll take it from there and see what it consists of. So I filled out the paperwork and emailed it to her, and she received it, and we did several telephone interviews as well as the complaint that I filled out, and she sent it to the city, so the city is in receipt of it. The way I understand it, the city was not even supposed to be allowed to purchase the building without relocation plan being in effect and it all being orchestrated before they can even buy the property.
So, I mean, who was all involved in it? I see some of these emails here. I see one from Judd Wyant here. He's Rick Olson's attorney. Rick Olson was your landlord. Judd Wyant was his attorney. And the very first line of this email is, "Get Fagan out immediately. I spoke with Tom Friedel. The city is quickly losing confidence and has made reference to terminating the contract." I assume that's about buying property.
Right.
Yeah. Elaine Eakes, when she was a
Private attorney that
she was
hired by the city.
Yeah. She called about you, and apparently you spoke with Alderman Jeff Coe.
I talked to Jeff Coe, and he said I was good to stay there until my lease expired. Don't worry about it. And I even talked to Tom Friedel 2 or 3 times, trying to get him to extend this deadline so that I could...
at least have a comfortable move, huh?
Right, correct.
Well, and this is let's see, one is forwarded here and the other is the actual message. But it doesn't matter who it went to, apparently. Elaine Eakes called about your tenant. Okay, so this is a letter from Friedel to Rick Olson. You spoke with Alderman Coe, who has no authority. Elaine spoke with Tom Friedel. He has absolutely no desire in inheriting the tenant, you. Apparently the tenant told either Coe or Tom that he will not be on the property. He's been in it for 10 years. He has 25,000 feet space utilized and cannot possibly be out by a month. So at least somebody understood that it was a damn difficult move. Apparently they didn't have much sympathy for that fact, but they did understand it. Pretty amazing. It's fascinating that they would leave a paper trail like this when they're basically violating state statutes. Okay, now in conjunction with that complaint, one of the things that apparently came up was the city told the gal up at the state that they were unaware of the fact that you a tenant down there?
That's totally false.
Yeah.
Jeff Coe, the alderman, has been in my shop. Tom Friedel I spoke with numerous times in regards to my situation, and he wouldn't allow me to stay till my lease expired. Mayor Dickert himself came down and asked what I was doing down by the river, packing up my stuff, and started asking me who dismantled a crane apparently that was on the property. And I said, I don't know anything about a crane. I said, I'm the guy from the top of the hill that you guys kicked out of the building over there. And you wouldn't let me stay. So I mean, Mayor Dickert knew of the situation. Tom Friedel knew. Jeff Cole told me that I was to be able to stay until my lease expired. And
well, just these emails too. I mean, the fact that Tom Friedel knew. I mean, and the attorney's office knew.
I didn't really know anything about emails until after I was gone, and some of this stuff came to light after I was already out of the building. So I mean, if I would have known that, maybe it would have helped me at the time. But it's a little bit waters under the bridge now.
Yeah. Well, it's under the bridge, but the creek is still flowing.
Yeah.
So, what do you plan on doing in the future? Are you going to restart your business? Have you got?
I'm bankrupt right now, and all my stuff is in trailers. I have no money for renting a place, or I mean, even if I wanted to auction off my stuff, I have no way to do it. Everything's in trailers. It's just I'm in a hard spot.
Yeah. And it's all a result of the way the city mismanaged a relocation project for somebody who was a tenant in property that the city was in the process of buying. So there's other instances of this. I want to thank you, Patrick, for bringing that information to light. And
thank you.
We're going to talk to some other people too that have had experiences with the city in relocation. So take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Mayor Dickert, ladies and gentlemen of the council. Just a couple notes. You all know where I stand on the arena project, and to be perfectly clear, I'm not against the arena in concept. What I am against is the thousands and millions of dollars of investment from the taxpayers that's being spent on this that should be shouldered by developers, private developers. A report on the petition is going very well. Now, despite claims that there's overwhelming support for this arena project, we're having a 90% success rate in soliciting signatures. And part of the people that do not sign are not signing because they either support the spending and are afraid if it goes to referendum, it'll fail, or there's language barriers, or they're not eligible voters. So that's where that stands. How much has been spent so far? We're not getting any figures. I mean, there's money that keeps dribbling through the RDA, and you approved $600,000. There was money approved for a previous a study, but how much? Can we get a quantification of exactly how much money has been spent so far to bring us to this point before we decide on spending more money? And can we have the assurance that that money isn't going to continue to keep dribbling through from various sources prior to the authorization for phase 2? Because what we're doing is we're spending a lot of taxpayers' money to sell us on this project, and the facts are not forthcoming. And I think it's owed to the public. Mayor Dickert has been collecting a payroll from the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Seaway Water Consortium now for a month, almost a month. At what point can we expect him to vacate his position so that we can start getting the ship estate back operating under whoever's going to...
Mr. Monte, one of the things things that we talked about and the conversations the council had about this is staying with facts. So I'd suggest that you please stay with facts. Stay with facts, please.
Question. And my third thing, in the last 56 seconds that I have here, is in the RDA's and the city's unfair dealings with tenants at Machinery Row, one person who filed a appeal at the state level has resulted in a 3-page decision against the city and the RDA for damages for relocation. These are facts. All of you received them in your email box. Conservative estimates are that this person is probably going to receive should receive a settlement in around the $300,000 to $400,000.
Mr. Monty, we're going to ask you to stay with facts, please, again.
I am staying with facts. This is from the guidelines for...
It's the last time I'm going to ask. It's the last time I'm going to ask. Time's up. Thank you very much.
I'm going to get the facts I have. Because you don't like them does not make them non-factual.
That's all we have for public comments. Communications. Hang on a second. Hang on a second.
FDP was never going to make those interest payments.
No.
That was a setup from the day of closing.
So
So
remember what we talked about in December when we saw the councilman talking there, the alderman, that they would be paying the interest payments. That's something you're going to get out of this $4.5 million loan. You're at least going to get the interest payment. That was a flat out lie.
Well, here we are. Welcome back to Talking Racine. It's just the three of us this evening. We have Mr. George Myers, Mr. Jim Spodek, and I'm Dr. Ken Jorgen. Now, last episode we had our special guest, John Dickert, on, and some things have come up. We promised to have John again this week, and he will be back soon. He's in the next room gathering his thoughts. And there's some things that have come up regarding Machinery Row, which we hate to keep beating a dead horse, but it seems like every time we stop beating it, it shows a little life. And here we are again. So we're going to go through the timeline one more time. Well, one more time now. We might end up doing more of this again yet. God
Well, I
only
think
knows.
there's so much involvement. There's so many particulars that keep coming. to the
Yes,
surface.
and it keeps winding back on itself. And
And it's important, I think, for everyone to understand, and they're interested in the city, of the type of, I'm just going to call them what they are, shenanigans that have been going on. It's very devious, and it's costing us a lot of money. And that's why we want to bring this up again.
yeah, this was destined to be done like a year ago. It was supposed to be completed. And really now all that's down there is weeds are growing, windows are being broken, you got some gang symbols sprayed on the side of the buildings.
yeah.
And there was even activity going on within these buildings. There were businesses operating there.
Yeah.
And they've all been chased out.
Right.
Yeah. They were some of them admittedly were struggling a little bit. You know, I mean, they were not
No, I'm not saying they were.
prospering, but they were there. They were businesses.
There was activity.
It was a business
And
community.
it was on the tax roll.
on the tax rolls, right? And the properties were being taken care of.
Yep.
Now the properties are not being taken care of. It's off the
They're
tax rolls. And
Back to the tax.
Empty except for one, I guess there's still the baseball.
And the big message here is, you know, look what happened at Machinery Road. Do you really think that the arena project, the event center, or whatever they want to call it, do you really believe that's got a chance of being successful and causing prosperity in this community? Man, oh man.
I think this lends a lot to what they think is going on in the arena, and it's going to show that they're both foolish. They were foolish from the beginning, and they're foolhardy, and they're not simply not going to get us where we want to be. They're just sewage. They're tar pits for money.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about it earlier, and you said something about this has really turned the community around, hasn't it? And I said, yeah, 360 degrees.
Yeah.
It's completely turned around. We're headed right back down the toilet where we were before they came up with
Millions
this.
of dollars.
Millions of dollars
And
more.
I suspect we'll be into $10 million by the time this is over.
Yeah.
That's a huge amount of money. Now, listen, what I did was I found a video from the original, when they voted on Machinery Row, and that was December the 17th, 2014. Now, this is before Machinery Row was in play. Now, we're going to go through and we're going to get some emails, and we're going to kind of show the timeline here and how the emails kind of fit into the timeline and actually what happened and what went into play here. And it's, you know, we touched around all the surfaces. Now we've got the emails that put this timeline in right exactly how it happened.
And one thing I would say, 2014, we talked about there was activity going on there. At that point, there was still activity there, right?
Right.
And that's another thing that's going to come up in a future edition, probably. Whatever happened to those people that got kicked out of there? All right. But
Well,
whatever.
let's
Yeah,
start.
right now, 2014, what we're going to watch is the activity still going on, and there's some concern about this loan, this $4.5 million that we're giving to the city.
Yeah, well, let's just refresh everybody's memory. The whole thing started in April of 2014 when the options were taken out on the property, and then it was announced in June of 2014 that this big $65 million project was coming our way, and be happy. So why don't you go ahead and fire up that clip there, Jim, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
It's hard to believe it's been nearly a week since the executive committee was called to meet in regards to this development. We had not heard anything from the developer since last July when the proposal was first submitted to the council. At that time, we heard about the private-public endeavor that this would be, the commercial and residential development that was proposed. At that time, we were told a $9 million historic tax credit would be on the line, that we would have to make a decision by December 31st in order for the developer, not the city, to receive that $9 million historic tax credit. Fast forward from July until the first week in December, we had heard nothing. So when we convened in the executive committee last week to hear about the revised plans for the development, we're not hearing so much about a private-public endeavor. We're hearing about a public endeavor. All of the investment is public dollars. And those public dollars are an investment to achieve more public dollars for this development.
Okay.
Now, this is real critical. This is the meeting at which the council approves a $4.5 million loan to the developer.
Right.
And Alderman Widener, Sandy Widener, is saying, hold on a second. This started off as a private-public cooperative development, and now it's become just a public development, and she's talking about the $4.5 million. All of a sudden, the developer has no skin in the game. It's all taxpayer skin.
And
That's what she said.
she's asking, where is he?
Now,
She has no insight as to what's happening behind the scenes.
the stuff we're going to talk about now, she at that time, she just had an intuition. She said, there's something wrong here.
Yeah, but
All this money is going up, and we never see the developer. He never shows up. Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, so they announced it in June, and then this meeting is in December, and the developer has not been around. And then it turns out that you've got an email there, Joe.
An email from, now we're talking September 25th, 2014. Now this is to one of the sellers of the property, Rick Olson. It's to him, and it says, he is now sending back to the broker, or his name is Jim Bowman, and he was with FD.
He was working with Blackwell.
With Blackwell. It says, I received an option cancellation this morning through my attorney. Now I am really confused. I talked with both Gerda and Sam, and neither have a problem consenting to an extension as requested. In fact,
Now, those two people, by the way, are the other three people up to three
Right.
properties. Okay, just so.
What happened? Please call. What happened was Blackwell ended the option, said, this deal's done, I can't make this work. for whatever reason.
Now, this is 3 months prior to the statement we just heard by Sandy White.
Right.
All right? And she's not aware of this,
No.
apparently, no. Also,
Nobody is.
yeah, there was an option. One of them just dropped off in, what was it, October of that year?
Right.
And then this is when one of the buyers finds out that it's gone. What happened to it?
Yeah.
I'm confused.
Right, I'm confused. Why is this option?
The developer's gone, folks.
Right.
He's not in
The
sight.
sugar roll is dead.
And the council is now, several months after this email, is now going to approve $4.5 million to loan to this non-existent buyer, which Jim calls a straw man. They had set him up there to accept the foreign, even though he's already let the option go. He has no interest in the project. That's the type of stuff that's costing us money.
But there is, in November of 2014, November 21st, another communication comes through, and FTP now is renewing the option.
Right.
But the basis under which he's renewing it is that not only does he not want to put down any more money on the option, but he wants the option money that he's put down
Right.
before returned to him.
Right.
If this deal doesn't close.
If this deal doesn't close, now, I can tell you from just experience, once you're in a deal and you realize, I can't make this work, I can't get the funding, whatever it is, I gotta let it go. Now he comes back. Nothing's changed for this guy. No miracle happened. The only miracle that's gonna happen now is the city's now gonna loan him $4.5 million to purchase his property. But it comes in on November 21st of 2014. And that's when you hear Sandy say, where has this developer been? And the reason is because he's really not there. This was now hatched by the city of Racine. They came to that developer and said, we'll loan you the money. And you can put this deal together. We can purchase that property down there because obviously the city wanted this project to move forward. They had already announced it. They couldn't have it fall apart for egos, whatever. I don't know what the reason is.
Well, there was $9 million in historical tax credits on the line too, which they needed to have him in the game in order to extend it and keep those tax credits.
I want to go back to this option money first. If you're all familiar with how real estate works, when you put an option out, you say, I'm going to buy your property. I'll give you $100 or $300, or in this case, $5,000 to 3 different people, total of $15,000 as good faith that I will follow through on this. You know, if you will hold the property for me, don't let anybody else buy
don't
it.
sell it to anyone else.
I'm gonna do it. Well, he let that first one lapse. So he said, okay, hold a second, wait a second. I'm still interested. I'll pay you another $15,000. That's $5,000 each, and. So he's given another. So he's got $30,000 into it. Finally says, that's not going to make it. I can't make it go. So I'll lose it. He's going to lose the $30,000. Then the city says, but we need you to buy these properties because we want to keep this thing going. Now it gets really, really fun because his next option says, I'll give you another option, but this time I'm not putting anything down.
And I want the
Not only
original
that,
30
but
back.
if this option doesn't go through, you pay me back that $30,000. Now that is really wild, folks. That has gone beyond the pale.
He knew.
That doesn't happen in real life.
No, but he knew because Dickert, Friedel probably let me cut him a deal and said, we're going to loan you that money. Now, let's move to the next stage of it.
I would just like to say, talk to any realtor that you know, talk to any lawyer you know, to ask them about these options. An option that says nothing down, and if I don't follow through on this option, guess what? You're going to give me $3,000.
Nobody ever
Better yet, you try to get an option down payment back to find out how that works.
That is too
So
beautiful.
now they cut this deal. I know that he's now the straw man, Blackwell. That's why all this development, he's coming, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, nothing's going to happen because he's not in this deal. It's the city deal, but they need to get the public behind this.
They can't sell it to, the city cannot outright buy it from these buyers.
Exactly.
For whatever reason, so they have to set him up so that he actually buys it.
And that's what a classic straw man is.
Yeah, that's your straw man. And then if he fails on that, there's more to the story, but go ahead, Jim.
On the 10th of December 2014, now this is 3 days before the Common Council is to meet to approve the $4.5 million, the JT, Journal Times, comes out and breaks the story that the city is going to loan $4.5 million to FDP Properties, or Rodney Blackwell's company. And in the article it states that they will make interest payments, that they're going to put $200,000 in an account to pay the interest payments on the 1%, 2%, or 3%, whatever it was, on that loan.
Now, when you say they, you're talking about FDP Properties
right.
is going to put on.
That's Rodney Blackwell.
Yeah,
Right.
He's going to pay this interest because we're going to loan it to him until the big loan shows up later down the road when the big construction starts. The city's going to get paid back.
Yeah, so don't worry about it. Do the $4.5 million.
Right.
We're gonna get the interest payments. He's coming through. In the meantime, he's already dropped out.
He's gone. He's gone.
Months before this, he's dropped out.
Now,
But,
yeah.
but this is what the city administrators come forward with, and the city attorneys have come forward with, and said this is what the new deal is.
Now, when they say, well, we didn't know anything about this, there's emails here with Tom Friedel, John Dickert is CC'd on these emails on the November 21st option. So these guys knew what was going on. There's no doubt about it. They floated that story to the JT. The JT bit and put it in. The Common Council meeting comes on the 17th of December, and the pressure starts to press. The pressure's on now.
And then
You gotta
you heard
approve
what
it.
Sandy, that was the first little excerpt we heard was Sandy Widener on this December 17th meeting. Now,
Right.
now we're going to get an example of some of the pressure that's coming.
So I'm going to play a little bit. Now, this is what was going on in that meeting. The pressure was on. Dickert and the administration had poised everything for this huge development. We have to loan them the money. And this
And
is...
had an alderman pushing it too. And we're going to hear from one of them right now.
Deferral kills this. We don't need to decide by the end of the year. The deal needs to close by the end of the year. Next week, in case anybody hasn't noticed, is Christmas. There are 2 working days basically killed, possibly the third one, the Friday after, depending on who you're talking to. I know I'm not working on Friday. But anyway, there are title things that need to be finished up. There's work with attorneys. The agreement needs to be inked and ready to roll. And they have to get together with a closing title company or wherever you do the closing, exchange checks, do all that kind of stuff by December 31st in order to guarantee these tax credits. I'm speaking against deferral because obviously I'm in favor of the project.
There you see it. There's the pressure. All Sandy was looking for at that time was deferral.
Exactly.
Let's just take some more time
Let's
to
take some
look at
time.
this.
This is a big
and
rush.
it needed it.
Find out what's going on with the developer, make sure this thing is going to happen.
Right.
Yeah, there were too many wild variables flying around saying this is not making sense, and I could see we're showing you things now that were going on behind the scenes. She was just kind of picking it up a little bit here, a little bit there, but there were things that needed to be revealed.
And there was former Alderman Greg Helding who was speaking out so strongly in favor of Machinery Row, and you may remember him as being highly in favor of the arena project now. The guy is just amassing a wonderful record with your money. Now, when they did the vote, we don't actually have the vote on there, but our recollection is that there were 3 aldermen who voted against approving this loan at this meeting, and that was Sandy Widener, Michael Shields, and Eddie Deal. And Shields and Deal have both been
Eradicated.
yeah, they've been opposition was put up against them, and they were replaced on the city council. And somebody ran against Sandy Widener too, but
Right.
She's a little strong for that
Yeah,
position they got there, but the other 2, for whatever reason, the point was is there was an administrative John Dickert or someone there put up candidates to get these aldermen off their seats.
yeah,
And
just
it was
remember
successful.
these are people who were opposed to it, and 2 of them are gone, and the third one was tried to be gotten rid of.
Right.
Right.
Now, let's move on.
It's a good idea.
It gets approved. The $4.5 million gets approved on the 17th of December 2014. Now, as you heard Greg Helding say, we got to have checks. People are going to, we got to do this closing. And there's a lot of stuff to do. Now, we're talking about Christmas. So we're talking about a limited amount of time. It's a great opportunity to slip stuff through. Nobody's watching. Everybody's out Christmas shopping,
in a
different
hurry,
things.
yeah.
Right. And this was a rush job. So the closing is for the 30th of December 2014.
Now that is just 13 days after this,
Right.
after this year.
2 weeks.
It's, well, you know, it's 5 days after Christmas, so we're in the middle of the holidays right there.
Now, on the 28th of December, now one of the sellers, again, Rick Olson, from his attorney, Judd Wyatt, sends an email to Rick. Now, this is CC to the city's attorney who hired outside Aline Sutton-Eatkes, and Rick Olson got CC'd, but it was, apparently they sent a closing statement, meaning this is how we're gonna close, and, you know, for the seller, which was Olson. And in it, Judley Wyatt, who is Olson's attorney, sends an email back to the closing attorney for Blackwell and says, the provision is not acceptable. 10% of the purchase price or $150,000 credit for costs associated with environmental remediation of the property. Meaning, they want a 10% kickback for environmental issues.
Well, that's what Blackwell and Associates are presenting to them,
Correct.
you know?
They're presenting that to them, and he's saying, hey, wait a sec. We never talked about a 10%, you know, kickback. You know, Olson's saying, hey, you know, whatever, I'm not kicking back.
No, Olson's one of the sellers.
Yeah.
One of the sellers.
Property
So
owners.
this is just his property.
It's just his, that's
He-
just
that's
his.
all-
But it also went to Sam
Applied to the other two, right.
It applied to him. They apparently, now, as we dug into this a little deeper, Olson comes back and says, hey, I had to sell because I'm up against the wall. They got me, you know, buried. I'm all my stuff is out of there. I'm out of business, and they've kind of got me, you know, backed up.
And the taxes are accumulating.
Right. So he agrees to it. So what happens though,
As do the other two.
as to the other ones, now they're all going to close, but on this particular one, now we're talking about the 30th of December. Now we're talking 2 days later, an email comes from Blackwell's attorney to Judley Wyatt, and the attorney that is representing Blackwell, now you have to remember, Blackwell's nowhere to be seen. This is all being done, but it's a Milwaukee attorney. None of this is being handled even by Blackwell. Apparently he didn't even show up at closing, and the broker Bowman showed up and picked up a check. But it says, hi Judd, Rodney, it says, please get me a revised closing statement. They agreed to the kickback of $150,000. Please get me a revised closing statement and closing documents as soon as you can. We will need to speak to Elaine. Now, Elaine was representing the city.
Right, she's an attorney.
She's the outside attorney that the
Right.
city hired.
To see
Okay.
if the city is comfortable with lowering the purchase price to 1.35, but keeping the loan amount at 1.5 to fund the reserve.
Now, folks, this is where it gets really unusual, because they're going to lower the purchase price from $1.5 million down to $1.35 million. They're going to lower the purchase price, but they're going to keep the loan the same.
So they're taking the money from the city. They're not telling the city, hey,
Now, that is, now, when was the last time you bought something for a certain price, or heard of somebody buying something like that for $2 million and getting a loan to buy that thing from the bank for $3 million? In other words, for more than what you're actually buying it for. That gets real shaky.
And this is just on the one property.
And that's just on the
Right.
one, the
Yeah.
1.35 to 1.5. It was done with all of them, though.
all of them.
Yeah.
All three had similar
Yeah,
amounts.
there were $4.5 million in the loan, and $450,000 was rebated back, kicked back to the purchaser.
In other words, the sales price showed like $4,050,000.
Right.
Well, the sale price was
The sales price was
$4,050,000. The actual sell.
and the actual loan was $4,500,000. That's just like
Oh,
this one
okay.
is.
Right.
So that's how the kickback was perpetrated. Was that we sold it to you for, let's say, $3, but we got a loan for $4.
Right.
Now the other dollar went to us.
Right.
Well, and it was going to be used for interest and,
Well, no, because it was sold to the Common Council, the RDA, and the public that Blackwell is going to pay the interest payments.
yeah, he's going to set up.
Blackwell's paying the interest payment.
Right.
This is some maybe environmental things.
Right. You know, nobody knows what's happening.
Yeah.
But if we're doing a little digging, I pulled up the developers agreement. In the developers agreement, which I might add gets recorded well into the period of time, they write in there, it's written into the developer's agreement that an escrow account is set up, and that escrow account will be used for taxes, interest payments. So this was all a setup. Blackwell or FDP was never going to make those interest payments.
No.
That was a setup from the day of closing.
Now,
So
remember what we talked about in December when we saw the councilman talking there, the alderman, that they would be paying the interest payments. That's something you're going to get out of this $4.5 million loan. You're at least going to get the interest payment. That was a flat out lie, because just the developer's statement had already been filed saying that those interest payments were coming from this excess that they were borrowing.
and no one knew this excess. I mean, the city in the common council.
Well, somebody in the city did.
Well, I believe the upper management of the city knew exactly what was going on when this was here. When that attorney asked, are they comfortable with lowering the purchase price? That attorney knows what's going on. And
Yeah.
he's here covering himself to say, if you guys are willing to do this, I don't care, it's not on my back. But the city...
And the people who knew it are copied in this
Right.
particular email,
But you notice
which
they...
includes the mayor
Right. Now,
and Tom Friedel, the city
Right.
administrator.
they all know.
They all knew.
Well,
I don't
they're
see
actually
any
the developers.
aldermen in that.
Right.
Yeah, when you say they all know, you're talking about the administration,
Right.
not the alderman.
No.
Not the redevelopment authority.
No.
Just the administration.
This was a typical straw man deal where they put him, and even Blackwell probably didn't know a hell of a lot what was going on. To be quite frank.
He probably didn't care.
No, he didn't care. What's the difference? Not only that, now the $450,000 goes into this escrow account. But guess who gets their money back? Blackwell gets a check out of there for $30,000 to cover those options.
There's the options. That's how
Right,
I
he
got
gets
the
his money
options
back. So this is like, hey, I get my money back. I have absolutely no money in this deal. Bowen, his real estate broker partner, that's a whole other thing. He gets $70,000 out of it. Now, Blackwell's moving along here. He doesn't care. He's not going to pay the taxes. Of course, there's some things that went on. And we can go into the escrow account later, but the fact is that this escrow account was set up here like a slush fund. That's really what you call it. Now, we're going to play a little bit later on here, and this is now a year and a half later on the Common Council floor. Alderman Widener comes up and asks some questions. Now, she finds out that they had a slush fund.
Mr. Blackwell borrowed money from the city of Racine, cut a different deal with the sellers of the property, set up an escrow account for him to draw money out of over the last year and a half. I had no idea that I should even have asked the question of the administration if something like this would have happened. When this came to light, this is where, the city administrator kept saying to us, the council, well, he's paying his interest payments. He paid his interest payments with money that he took from the sellers that he renegotiated after we loaned him the $4.5 million. So in essence, we are paying that because we loaned him that money. I want us to have our eyes wide open about what kind of a developer we're giving another extension to. He didn't even have the respect for this city or this administration that negotiated with him or this council to come before us within that first 4 months when his extension had expired.
No, this is actually 2 years after,
Right.
almost to the day.
And when she
Oh,
says...
no, I'm sorry. It's a year and 10 months.
When she says the city, he's not going to develop. He's not going to deliver.
Right.
Right.
He's not going to deliver.
Spot on. She knew at this point that it was a gone deal, lost deal.
Well, the thing is, he didn't have the respect to come and renew the note. He didn't have nothing to do. He was the straw man. He doesn't renew the note. This was all orchestrated by Friedel, Dickard, probably Letney. This is who was pulling the strings on this deal. They knew what was going on. They had gotten to the point now they had hoped another developer or they could whip up some magic, I guess, and get this thing developed. It wasn't going to happen, and it just kept getting worse.
And in the
worse.
meantime, Friedel, the city administrator, is lying to the council saying, well, don't worry about it, he's paying his interest payment.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when it gets to a certain point where, wait a second, we still don't have a developer, it's a year later, now the interest payment argument's getting a little bit weak, and Alderman Weiner points out, he was never paying them all along.
Well, I
It was coming
remember
out of
her-
that slush fund.
I remember her questioning a couple times, you know, about is this guy keeping up his payments and where's the money coming from? And Friedel responding, oh yeah, he's paying the interest.
The
on
interest
it.
payments are being made, and I think we even checked on it, and yeah, they were being made. Well, we never knew that this was a slush fund that they had actually taken from the sellers to create
Yeah,
this.
you could show them that they're being paid. You couldn't see the source of the payment, which happened to be the city taxpayers.
So now it's a year and 10 months later, and again, they want to keep this thing alive, and it's so important because they got these $9 million tax credits that are
Right.
still dangling out.
Right, I mean, this is 2 years later, just hurry up to these tax
Had to
credits are
do it in-
still hanging out there.
Had to do it 2 years earlier in
Right.
December to save those tax credits, and then the whole thing just goes to crap, and now they're still trying to keep it alive, keep those
Well, you
tax
know, the
credits
thing
alive.
all along at this period was, if you remember right, I mean, yeah, well, Machinery Row is going to start now, and they're starting some work on
Right.
Machinery Row. They're surveying Machinery Row. They're going to demolition part of the building on Machinery Row. Well, that developer was never around. He was never there. He never intended to do this development. It was a scam from day one. And after that option expired, he knew right then and there. I
From
got
that point
30,000.
on,
That was over.
it was dead.
You know-
And that goes back 2 years prior to this.
And I remember looking at this deal, and then when I realized there was a kickback here, I thought, well, he scammed a kickback. It wasn't Blackwell who put that deal together. That was the administration. That's your own city government that was kicking that.
I think it was. I think they had sold themselves that this was going to be a successful. This was going to bring the city back.
Right.
I mean, Rootworks was in
Idea.
going on, and they had pictures of the people walking on that promenade, you know, along the river. You know, I mean, there was all the evidence right there. You could see it in that picture and that drawing that this was going to be a success and this was going to bring wealth to the city, which, economically speaking, is totally stupid.
Right.
You don't
Never gonna happen.
work at that end of the economic
another whole
level.
two shows.
Yeah, right. But I mean, you just that or the arena. You know, the arena is like Machinery Row
It is.
in the early stages.
Right, exactly.
We,
You know what else is
how
in the
much we
early
got
stages?
in arena now?
I think Foxconn isn't far behind. There's another one. Hurry up. We got to get that $3 billion and give it away. You know, I
Yeah.
just, whenever anything goes that fast, when there's some kind of a hurry up, you know, this fear of loss, there's always a problem.
Well, and you know, that's the nice thing about the small businesses. When they come in, of course, we put barriers to them. Hey, you got to jump over this hoop and this hoop, and wait, there's a couple more hoops down the road there, and you got to jump through before we're going to let you open. And that's where the real strength comes, because those people don't come in looking for any, you know, millions of dollars of,
a lot of hours.
and they are truly legitimate business, and not these people that come in asking for lots of city money. I mean, Jim, you said that I think he made a comment off camera. Said these guys are good.
Yeah,
You know,
they are good.
they know how to scam really good, man. They know their game.
Do we have any more clips that we want to
I
play? or-
think that's about it. I can't
Exhausted?
take it anymore. I mean, there's more to this whole story. It goes even deeper than this. We'll get into that a little bit later, but there's even more money, more losses, and more coming.
Well, now we've learned that Blackwell actually has signed the deeds over to the city.
That's just recently found that
Yeah.
out. And actually, he did it 7 months ago. Nobody knows who owns the property. Nobody can find it out. Now all of a sudden, we've actually talked to Blackwell. We did, but it was conveyed to us that it was signed over 7 months ago.
And I hope you all see what a sad situation that is, but there are people in City Hall think that's really cool because now we own some more property.
Yeah.
Yeah, these people building empire, they look at, we have, our assets have increased.
Right.
And we have so many properties, the city taxpayers, off the city tax rolls, in the city's ownership throughout the city. It's just, we have really lost our way. And somehow we've got to get this straightened out.
It's all Baltic Avenue, though. There's no boardwalk and Park Place in there.
No, that's right, Mediterranean and Baltic. All right.
Okay, well, that's it for this evening. Say goodnight to our guests, gentlemen.
Hope you learn. You might not have been the most enjoyable show we did, but we hope at least you know.
Yeah, get a little bit of insight on what happened there.
It's important that we all know this.
Yeah, Hank, thanks for hanging in there with us, and we'll, as things develop, we'll be back and bring you that. And next week, John Dickert is making a return, hopefully.
Hopefully he's not too busy.
Okay, we'll see you then, folks.
All right.
Thanks again.